Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ludwig and this is Ludwig Reads. So today I will briefly check in just to tell you about my August reads and how it went, looking back at my TBR and the books that I was going to read for this month. And I will not go into the plots of the books, I will just tell you my final rating and some notes that I took when reading about the books. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first books that I read were by Riley Sager, and it was The Last Time I Lied and Final Girls. The first book, The Last Time I Lied, I think the atmosphere and the setting was very nice. We are at a summer camp and we are with the main character Quincy, who is back at the summer camp as an adult after being there 15 years ago when her three friends disappeared. And now she's there to figure out a little bit about what happened. And yeah, things happen, new things happen as well at camp. And I really liked the setting because it's giving me summer camp when I was a kid, even though I didn't do exactly that type of summer camp. I used to go to different sports tournaments, staying over in cabins and getting to know other kids. And yeah, I really liked that, the atmosphere of it, so because it threw me back to when I was a teenager and a kid. And I also liked the game that they played throughout the book to reveal secrets to the reader. It was two truths and one lie, and yeah, almost all of the characters would play this game, and every time they did, the reader would figure out something more about either a character or something about the mysteries and the secrets of the book. And I thought that was a fun way to give away secrets and get the reader to learn more about what's going on. What I didn't like was, the ending and sort of the plot twist wasn't really interesting to me at all. It was quite lame and a boring motive, I think, of the bad guy, I can say. I would give it a 3 out of 5. And then Final Girls. I liked the pacing of this book a little bit better than the previous book. I flew through it and I think it was a little bit more suspenseful, I would say, than compared to The Last Time I Lied. And it was set in New York and in a cottage. And I liked both the big city vibes and the sort of forest vibes of the cottage. I was invested in the story, but then when they did the first reveal at the end or in the last chapters, I made a note saying like, oh, okay, predictable, not very exciting. But little did I know, 28 pages later or something, the plot twists threw me off, so I wasn't expecting that. So it's kind of fun to look back at my notes being cocky, saying that like, yeah, I expected this, but then later in the book, they threw me off basically, and I really liked that. I wasn't expecting it to turn out the way that it did. So for that, I like it more because in thrillers, the ending and the suspense and the plot twists are very important to me. So for that, I will give it a 4 out of 5. And then the next book I read was The Years by Annie Ernaux, and this is a memoir about her life, and it's told in a very interesting way. So it's not her just writing, I was born at this date and then this happened and then that happened chronologically. Rather, it's told through different events throughout these years that she lived. So she would say, for example, a picture of a girl staring into the unknown, and then the reader would sort of guess that it's that she's talking about herself, but then she would describe different events happening around the world at that time and how she saw it when she was at that age, if that makes sense. And it's written quite poetically and sometimes difficult for me to follow, especially in the beginning. I had a very hard time to get into the book. But as soon as I did, and as soon as I really sat down to read and spend more time than just reading like 10 pages, but reading for an hour or two, I started to enjoy it more, and I started to get into the story and sort of recognize different historical events in in France, because it's set in France because she's French. And I have a hard time to rate the book because in the beginning I really thought that, okay, I'm not going to finish this because it's too complex or it's too difficult to follow. But now by the end I started to like it more, so I'm leaning towards a 3 or 3.5, but giving it a 3.5 seems quite generous in hindsight, looking back to how I felt about it in the beginning. So probably I would give it a 3. I will give it a 3. And the next book is a contemporary fiction one, and it's by Fredrik Backman, and every morning the way home gets longer and longer. I really liked it. It was a beautiful story about a grandfather and his grandson sitting in an imaginary sort of magic realist bench, seeing the grandfather's life flash before their eyes as it would pop up something from his life in front of them, and the son would ask, or the grandson would ask, oh, what is that? And then the granddad would tell a story about why that thing is there. So the reader is basically inside the grandfather's mind throughout the book, looking back at his life, because the grandfather has Alzheimer's and is in the very late stage of his life. And the topic is quite scary to me, aging in general and starting to forget things. And I would recommend you to be concentrated and sit down to read this in almost one go, because it's like 80 pages long or something. And I also read some reviews saying that it was quite not unique, and similar topics have been discussed in better ways before. And I can see that, it's nothing super special, but it's just a cute way and a very straight to the point description about what Alzheimer's could be, and also a story about love and family. And I think it was an enjoyable read, and I enjoyed it, and would give it somewhere between a 3.5 to a 4. Yeah, and then the next book, I will very briefly just say that Sara Källner's En ny Gud, A New God, translated to English, it was very weird. So it's this main character, Leila, who accompanies her boyfriend to his family estate. And in the beginning, I liked the vibes of them going hunting in the forest and discussions about politics and whatnot, even though I didn't agree with most of the discussions, obviously, because they were quite looking down on people and poor people and kind of racist, etc. And by the end of the book, it was just getting weird and crazy, and the main character turns out to be evil almost. And no, not almost, she was evil and super. I didn't get her at all, even though it was all from her perspective. I don't get this character at all. She was just out of nowhere starting to be an asshole and evil and disgusting in every aspect. So yeah, super weird book. 1 or 2 stars, 1.5 stars. Do not recommend to all the Swedes watching. I also read Häng City, which is a book by a Swedish author. It's about a group of young kids in a city in the north of Sweden, and they just, throughout the whole book, they are biking around, skateboarding around the town, doing shenanigans and being kids, And it was a very fun read, I would say. They are just trying to survive their summer break, and they're doing everything they can to not have a boring time. So they're trying to just take the boat out camping. They try to steal candy at the store, and they are doing all kinds of bad kid stuff, or whatever I could say. And at the same time, there has been a murder in one of the houses in their neighborhood. Weird plot, I would say, because you would think that you would learn more about this murder throughout the book and what has happened, but it was, by the end of it, we didn't really know a lot about this murder, and details about it are described throughout the book, but I don't really get why this murder was in the book at all. It's on the one hand, it's just about the boys enjoying life as kids, and then there's this murder, but there's no real connection. Yeah, I enjoyed it. 4 out of 5, actually. So even though it was weird with this murder and the ending not really revealing what I expected it to, but I recommend it as sort of an end of summer read for sure. That was it for this video, and I would say that I'm quite happy with my August reads, even though some of the books weren't as good as others, but all in all, I had a good reading month, and I'm looking forward to September, where I will get into more reading. And this, I read 7 books, and maybe in the upcoming month I won't be able to read as many because I've started working and I don't have enough time. But let me know what you're reading, and if you have any recommendations for me going into fall. I will try to read a little bit more in the thriller, spooky genre for Halloween, but otherwise I will continue with the same genres that I usually read. So yeah, let me know if you have any tips for me, and otherwise, until next time, bye!